We are good.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another session of Healthy X Sundays podcast, where we bring you the most important and actionable information in the nutrition and wellness space. I'm your host, Dave, from Mind Muscle Project, and joining me as co host is Kunal Jain, also known as the Veg Diet Coach. Today, we have a special guest, Dr. Vivek Naik from Goa. Yes. Mr. Naik has had an incredible journey of transforming himself by defeating cancer to building an impressive physique at the age of 63. So, without further ado, welcome to the show, Dr. Vivek Naik. It's an honor to have you, sir, on board.
Thank you.
So,
Welcome.
let's get going. So, the first question I have for you is introduce yourself. Like, tell us a bit about yourself. What's your story?
Okay. Good evening, Dave. Good evening, Kunal, and good evening to everybody who is listening in. I am a doctor by profession. By profession, I was. Now I'm retired. I retired around at the age of 58, and it was at the time of COVID, just when the lockdown was to happen. And at the same time, I was diagnosed with a tumor in the stomach. So I had to take care of that first on an emergency basis. It was, I would say, divine faith intervened, and we could remove the tumor within 15 days of lockdown. And I was back home, and then within a week or so, lockdown. So that was, in that way, is good. So I practiced ophthalmology for around 30 years. And now I basically read about fitness, nutrition, and do a little bit of photography, have a passion for wildlife. So I think in a nutshell, that should be a small introduction. And from here, we can take up the question.
Right. So you're from Goa, right? You're from.
Yeah, I am from Goa. I live here. My parents live here. So,
And you practiced in Goa all your.
Yes. I practiced in Goa
Right.
for my entire practicing career.
Right. So quite impressive to say the least. So what, like coming to your questions, like what changes did you make to your diet after this diagnosis? Did this diet change in a way contribute to your faster recovery?
Okay. Yeah. Before this being diagnosed, I was basically eating a mixed diet, which was, I would say, more on the carb side. And we used to use seed oils, eat a lot of fruit, lot of fiber, some amount of protein, a good amount of fruit juices. On weekends, a couple of beers. Because I think basically I didn't know about nutrition much. But once it was diagnosed and once it was treated, then I set about changing the whole thing. I now focus on proteins, moderate amount of carbs, and along with the proteins also come the fats. A little bit of non-sugary fruit, and basically that's it. Rest everything I have stopped. No white sugar, no brown sugar, no adding sugar in tea, coffee, nothing. And no alcohol, absolutely no alcohol.
So did this help you with your recovery process?
No, I recovered quite fast. You see, I recovered quite fast. I don't think this has helped in the recovery from the surgery or so, but it has helped in my overall, metabolic health. I feel much healthier now than what I was feeling 10 years back, or let us say 20 or 20 years back. Yes, sir.
Right. So, did doctors advise any diet change, or their sole focus was on just the treatment?
No, doctor, a doctor anywhere will always focus only on treatment. So even if you ask them what diet, they will say a nutritionist will visit you and help you out with that. Basically, I was advised not to eat meat and basically have a vegetarian diet. Of course, which I have not exactly followed.
Right.
I have done my own research, and I have done a diet which now suits me.
Right.
And I still keep on changing a little bit here and there. It's not a very straight jacket, fixed thing like.
Right. So, whenever there's something to do with the gut, the traditional medicine or the traditional way they approach things is by asking you to cut meat, cut non-veg. That's the common
Yeah,
way.
yes, exactly.
Right.
But then
So,
you are missing out on a very good source of protein, right? Not only protein, and along with protein, so many other things.
right. So, speaking of cancer,
Yes.
so what's your take on cancer being treated as a metabolic illness? Like, we know there is something genetic to it as well, but do you think it's a reasonable assumption to make that cancer has a metabolic component to it?
The basic pathophysiology behind cancer is chronic inflammation. So anywhere where there is chronic inflammation in the body, it has to be associated with metabolic health. And one of the most common causes for chronic inflammation is insulin resistance. So you see, everything is interconnected, and most of the chronic inflammations usually happen in the gut. We don't realize it. But it can start in the gut. I'm not saying that it develops some cancer of the gut or something, but chronic inflammation starts in the gut. And again, it is related to our nutrition. You see, there are so many undesirable things that go inside and inflame the gut, thus resulting in chronic inflammation. So that is the basic thing. Once there is chronic inflammation, and wherever it further leads to chronic inflammation, leads to unregulated growth of cells. You see, and that is what cancer is.
Right.
And unregulated growth of cells will happen when the mitochondria within the cells start to misbehave. And the mitochondria will start to misbehave when it is not getting the proper nutrition, or if it is getting toxins. You see,
Right.
or if there is epigenetics involved. or if there is hormonal imbalance, like too much of estrogen and things.
Right. So, mm, so there is some, I don't know, there is some talk, there is something like an alkaline diet can help in cancer prevention and treatment. So, what's your take on it about this alkaline diet?
Once cancer cells start to grow in the body, they prefer an acidic atmosphere. So you can counteract that by converting the environment into alkaline. So basically, a lot of alkaline fruits like avocados, pomegranate, even baking soda is good.
Right.
That is one aspect. Secondly, the cancer cells also love sugar.
Right.
They have 40 times more uptake of sugar than a normal cell. So cutting sugar is an absolute must.
Right. So that was my next question, like the role of sugar in the growth of cancer cells. So cancer cells, as you say, love sugar more than your normal cell. Like you said, it's 40 times more sugar absorbing. So
Yes.
when we cut out sugar, that's like making it unfavorable for the cancer cells to grow. Is that right?
Yes, we are starving the cancer cells.
Right. And that must be the reason why keto diet and a very low carb diet is you found to be very helpful in such.
Yes, but with regard to carbs and cancer, I would like to differ here slightly. Because again, too much of protein, especially methionine, no?
Right.
It is said that it can cause some type of cancers. So in order to counteract that, one can add a little more carbs. There is no harm for a person who has recovered from cancer or who has metastatic cancer to have a little more carbs. So here I differ a little bit. This is from my reading research. I would also like to add here that chronic inflammation is best tackled by grounding. We have to spend at least 30 minutes outside on the grass or on gravel, sand, wherever possible, barefoot. You see, just 30 minutes a day, and it will reduce the inflammation in the body to quite substantially.
Right.
Also, exposure to sun. See, we have come from the sun. We have to take the sun. Sun is much more than producing vitamin D. It is, if taken properly and if taken in sufficient quantities, it can prevent tumors, cancers, and all that.
Right.
Most of the people are not doing this nowadays. I was also not doing it for the last maybe 55 years. But now after reading, I realized that it has to be done.
Yeah, grounding is something very important. I have also felt that most people don't do grounding because most people are wearing slippers, even indoors these days.
Yes.
And they are living in high-rise buildings on.
Yes. We need to ground. We need to take the sun, and of course, inflammation is again tackled by, one is a supplement, one is a drug, one is aspirin. So those who have metastatic cancer, there is no harm taking around close to 100 grams of aspirin, but under doctor's supervision, because aspirin has got its own complications of bleeding, and one has to be careful with them. This is again my personal opinion, and I reserve the right to be wrong. Also ascorbic acid, vitamin C high dose, up to 8 to 10 grams per day. This is for inoperable, non-treatable, where doctors have given up hope. You see, they can try this. I didn't take, because in my case it has been treated well. I don't have any complications. But again, this is from literature. Two things which help to reduce inflammation, besides the other things that we have discussed.
So, for the information of our audience, those who cannot actually ground, you are living in the fourth floor or a higher building, there is something called grounding mats that are available. Should check it out. You should be able to get it.
Yes. A little expensive, but it is worth it. Worth it.
Kunal, you want to take it from here?
Yeah, sure. So, very interesting conversation on the nutrition side. You also do strength training, so let's talk about that aspect as well.
Yeah, sure.
So, why is resistance training important for cancer prevention and overall health? Do you think there is a link?
Yes. I would say that the muscle is the most metabolic organ in the human body. So,
Right.
more muscle you have, again, one does not have to be an Arnold Schwarzenegger or something, but the more muscle one has, the less is the chance of any inflammation. And as we started this conversation, we know that chronic inflammation is the precursor of all the problems in the human body. So more muscle, less inflammation, better metabolic health, less disease. Also, more muscle also helps in, especially resistance training, helps in autophagy and mitophagy. You see, so bad cells are eaten up, and any bad cell is not allowed to undergo mitosis, that is replication. Also, exercise helps in increasing T cells in the body, and as we know that T helper cells help in fighting tumor cells and unwanted cells in the body. So, multiple benefits. Besides controlling insulin and and your hormones, a more muscle, you will have more testosterone, and automatically your estrogen levels will come down. Again, see, it is protecting you.
Right.
And I would say that, in fact, older a person becomes, it should be imperative that he builds a decent amount of muscle mass. It is difficult as we grow older to build. A 20-year-old will build muscle mass very fast. Maybe in 3 weeks of resistance training, he'll get good. But older person, 60 plus, will take maybe 3 years to reach somewhere near that 20-year-old person. Or he may not reach, but he will build a significant amount of muscle mass.
Yeah. So coming to the next question, it's related to what you just said, that you started working out in your 50s.
Yeah.
So
approximately. Yeah, let's say that.
Approximately.
Working out properly.
Okay. So like you said, it's difficult to build muscle as you grow older. What is your advice for older adults who want to build muscle mass?
Yeah, they will have to get into some sort of a resistance training program. Again, it need not be weightlifting. It can be done at home also in the form of body weight. Start slowly, understand the importance of resistance training, and start from there. And most important is be consistent. Be consistent. Thrice a week, once you get some sort of form, and once you get a hang of it, then I would suggest then thrice a week is good enough. Also have to pay attention to recovery.
Right.
And if one can afford it, always take the help of a trainer. Trainers will correct your form. Trainers will show you the exercises. And then from there, your body will tell you which exercise you should continue and which you should stop. But resistance training has to be done as one gets older.
Absolutely.
This is from my experience.
Yeah, there is a lot of evidence to suggest that to arrest sarcopenia and to have a good quality of life as you grow older, resistance training plays a big role. When you have healthy bones and good muscle mass, it definitely adds to quality of life apart from the healthy benefits.
Yeah, I think every attempt has to be made that, let us say, if I live around 80 or 80 plus, then is to avoid the wheelchair. Let me put it. So I need to be mobile. I don't have to be dependent upon anybody. You see. So for that you require muscle, right? Cannot be wasted and sit in a chair. That's not life.
Absolutely.
That is just numbers. 84, 85, 86. You see, numbers don't make any meaning.
Absolutely. I mean, you can be very unfit in your 30s, 40s these days. And the older folks who are maintaining exercise and good nutrition and rest, they are way ahead in terms of strength, in terms of physical fitness compared to the younger folks. So it's not a number which matters. Age is just a number.
Again, the younger folks are just sitting. You see, they're sitting. Now, I do agree that today's jobs are such that you have to sit, but then you can still sit for 1 hour and then get up and just walk around for 10 minutes and again come and sit, right? So if you do this for 8 times, you're walking around 80 minutes at a time when you're working.
Absolutely.
Which is, it is just not that 40 minutes of exercise. It is being active throughout the day, as much as possible.
Right. How much you move yourself, your mobility.
Yes.
So apart from resistance training, should there be a focus on like cardio?
Yes, one should.
Heart.
One should also have a good amount of cardio. What is recommended is around 120 to 150 minutes per week. Now, the intensity depends. I think older people should stick to zone 2 and maybe just once in 10 days an HIIT program. So if older people can sprint, there is nothing like that. That is an absolute, it's a tremendous tremendous medicine, I would say. Sprinting. So sprinting and maybe some sort of HIIT program, which your trainer himself can work out for you. But it is only once in 10 days for older people. Otherwise, they should stick to After the workout, they can go on a stationary bike, do around 20 minutes of cycling, or do around another 15-20 minutes of incline walking. You see, or if they find that if they find incline walking is still difficult, they can just do plain walk. And there's nothing like doing plain walking in the sun. Okay, these days there's monsoon, there's cloud. By September, cloud will disappear. After that, yes, walking in the sun is marvelous.
Right.
Men should be only on shorts. Women, I don't know how they can how they can explore, how they can
So
explore.
I have a question. So the question I have is basically what workout or activities do you recommend for older folks, right? Is it better for them to focus on specific things, right? Like use, or is it better to mix up activities so that different types of movements are involved? What is your recommendation for older folks?
Basically, for older folks, I would recommend them that they first focus on their legs. See, that is the place where you will see that there is maximum muscle wasting in any old person. His or her legs go first. You see, so build up your legs through proper resistance training. Marathon running, 10K running, 5K running, 30, 40 kilometers cycling is all catabolic activities. They will eat into a muscle which you are already losing. You don't want that to happen. So ask your trainer or ask somebody in the gym to show exercises that build muscles of the legs first. Then the posterior chain, because the posterior chain, that is the back muscle, they support the legs. That comes second. And then finally the show muscles. Of course, the pectoralis, biceps, triceps. You see? So this is a rough program that I follow. We do a very intense leg workout. And also an intense back workout, and the rest is just a normal workout for resistance training. To this one can, as we discussed before, we can add the cardio 15-20 minutes per day.
Absolutely. What's the role of magnesium as an anti-cancer agent, and why is it important to supplement if you're not getting enough from your diet?
Again, I don't want to get into the biochemistry of how magnesium acts and things like that, but it's the same thing. It helps to suppress chronic inflammation.
Absolutely.
It maintains healthy mitochondria, and that is the whole thing. You see? So if you lack magnesium, mitochondria over a period of time may start to misbehave.
Right.
Insulin resistance, so all that will start.
Absolutely. So Goa has probably the highest diabetes rates in India, despite eating a lot of seafood. What do you think Goans are doing wrong?
They eat seafood, but they don't eat enough. They eat more rice, more bread, more ultra processed food, and everything is cooked in seed oil. You see, so amount of protein going in is not enough. Simply not enough. It's just basically a lot of carbs.
So one piece of fish with a lot of rice.
Yes, one piece of fish with a lot of rice.
Dave, you want to take over?
Yeah. So so this is because you've been a doctor for many years.
Yes.
So where do you think the modern medicine is falling short? Are we focusing too much on you know external fixes or the symptom fixing rather than addressing the root cause?
Yeah, to a large extent, yes. We, to give you an example, this is best explained through an example. Like if a person is suffering from insomnia, a doctor first writes a sleeping tablet. So most of often it is a benzodiazepine. The patient to take it for a short period of time, which is good advice. But going into the real depth, as to why he or she deep or this thing, then you will get the correct answers, and then you will find that maybe benzodiazepines are really not required at all. By that time, he or she becomes dependent upon benzodiazepine. Then it becomes a vicious cycle. Same goes with cholesterol. If once the doctor sees the blood report, and cholesterol is around 320, says, okay, it's now time for you to take statin. So, to a certain extent, treatment is now happening in this way. The clinics are crowded, One doctor cannot sit with a patient for 1.5 hours and listen to his entire story. It was possible maybe 40, 50 years back. Workload was not that much. It's too much of workload now. I don't blame them totally, but this is the way things have more mechanical. It's become more mechanical.
Right. So, in your 30 years of practice as an ophthalmologist, you definitely came across many eye illnesses related to diabetes, like glaucoma, retinopathy. So, can you explain how diabetes affects your eye? Because that is something that people don't realize that diabetes can affect your eye.
Yeah. Once diabetes becomes uncontrolled, the small blood vessels in the human body, entire human body, they start getting blocked. So this leads to hypoxia, that is lack of oxygen at the cellular level. Whenever there is lack of oxygen at the cellular level or at the blood vessel level, you will find what is known as angiogenesis. Angiogenesis is a very haphazard growth of new blood vessels. And as we know, these new blood vessels are not very strong. They leak very fast. And all the albumin and proteins come out of the system. And they get deposited in the retina. So the retina stops working, vision goes down, end result, blindness. Similarly, it also causes known to cause atherosclerotic changes also within the water flowing pathways of the eye, and it can also cause chronic simple glaucoma. A little debatable, the second one, but diabetes, retinopathy, 100% in uncontrolled time.
All right. So, these things are not reversible, right? Like if you control diabetes.
No, even if you control diabetes, if a certain part of the retina has got damage, it will remain damaged. We can only prevent further damage.
So, you mentioned about small blood vessels. So, it's not just the eyes which has small blood vessels, it's different parts.
Absolutely not. If an ophthalmologist sees these changes in the eye, he has to immediately refer the patient to a urologist. 100% the patient's kidneys also will be damaged, and so also all the small vessels in the body.
Right. So that is something very interesting. So if when your diabetes is at that stage, it's not just your eyes, it's not just your kidneys, your overall body is being affected. So uh, try to not try to prevent diabetes. That's the message for.
Prevention is the best.
Yeah. So you mentioned briefly about insulin resistance at the beginning in one of the questions. So what's your view on insulin resistance as the root cause of metabolic illness? And why do you think it's not given importance? Like you don't hear a doctor say about insulin resistance. Like a few except you or somebody on Twitter might say, but otherwise there is no mention of insulin resistance. Nobody except us asks for a fasting insulin test. So why do you think is the case? Why is this is happening?
Nobody says that you are suffering from insulin resistance. In fact, that is what has to be said. The thing is that insulin resistance there is no medicine, isn't it, for insulin resistance? But take this tablet and your insulin resistance will disappear. No. See, if your blood sugar is high, take metformin, yes, the blood sugar will come down. But insulin resistance, no. The treatment of insulin resistance is with the patient, with the person. Unless he does lifestyle changes his diet, gets into an exercise, that takes his fitness, nutrition, overall health seriously, then insulin resistance will get corrected.
So, and these are all free.
It's free. Yeah, it's free. It means the work has to be done by the person himself. He doesn't require a doctor for it.
Maybe someday.
So the medical profession will not be interested in something where there is no financial gain, I would say, as such.
Maybe someday, if there is a medicine for insulin resistance, then doctors will start asking for fasting insulin tests.
Yes, if something like Ozempic comes for insulin resistance, then of course it will be a hit, and people will live maybe forever.
Right. So, okay, this is a general question, but so what should an ideal diet look like in your opinion? Should we focus on calories or carbohydrates, or is it something else? Like, what is an ideal diet in your opinion, from your experience?
My personal opinion, and I reserve the right to be wrong also here, but I would say that the diet has to be protein centric, center it around protein. So, for a reasonably active person, he or she should get at least 1.6 to 2 grams per kg body weight of protein. Now, once this is done, then depending upon your metabolic health, how much exercise you do and how much muscle you have, and whether you are borderline diabetic or your sugars are low, then you can decide on how much carbs one can have. Some amount of fruit, especially the non-sugary ones like blueberries, healthy fat ones like avocado, maybe a guava. These are fine. You see? Just avoid of course all type of sugars, white sugar, brown sugar, and fruit juices, and all that. And of course, a strict no to seed oils. Seed oil is now proven to be inflammatory to the body. Inflammation is caused. One of the most important causes of inflammation in the body is long-term use of seed oil.
In India, it is even worse. We tend to reuse the seed oil. Once it is used for deep frying, it is reused for tadka.
Especially people after their office hours, eat outside like vada pav, bhel puri, samosa. It's all reused oil. Omelets from outside. It's all even MNC chain. You see the smell you get when you go into that McDonald's and Kentucky Fried. That smell itself is frightening. I'm not sure whether it is reused oil. Could be. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's reused because that's how they save money.
Yes. It's a vested interest, right? There's a commercial interest, vested interest. Best is to use saturated fat coming from nature.
So in Goa, the commonly used oil must be coconut oil. Am I right, or is it something else?
Once upon a time. Now it is all seed oil. People have no time, you see. People have no time, and also there is this belief that it increases cholesterol and things like that. So, some people do use, but let us say 70, 80 years back, it is to be used by almost everybody. Now, few households use it.
Right.
It's all seed oil. You just go to the supermarket and pick up your sunflower oil, rice bran oil, soya bean oil. Even olive oil is mixed. You see, there is a separate olive oil for cooking. It is not the extra virgin olive oil.
So one last question.
Yes.
How does your day look like? Like from morning to before you sleep to the time you sleep, how does it look like as far as your workouts and what kind of food you eat in a day? How many times do you eat?
Okay, let's start with the morning. I wake up by 5. So I try to follow the circadian rhythm. And wake up by 5, have a black tea. Of course, everything is unsweetened. Then after tea, I do take creatine monohydrate and L-taurine as pre-workout supplement. Then if the workout is going to be heavy, I do eat some sort of an energy bar, not the whole bar, maybe half a bar or a sweet potato, couple of pieces of sweet potato. And then by 6:15, 6:30, I go for my workout. We finish by 7:30, 7:45. Immediate breakfast, if one wants to call it breakfast, but that's just 4 eggs and Greek yogurt with whey protein, with blueberries and some chia seeds, and a square of 85 to 90% dark chocolate. So these are all antioxidants. Blueberries, dark chocolate, all antioxidants. And then I sit and read till evening. I go for a walk, and again I do the house. As my wife is working, I do my household work. I do the household work. So I am, let us say, on the move most of the time, picking up groceries, doing the marketing, some amount of laundry work. Lunch again, protein centric. I always, for lunch, I always eat meat. Maybe could be fish, could be mutton, could be chicken, with decent amount of vegetable. Mushrooms are good. beans, carrots, some rice, white rice. Then evenings for a walk, leisurely walk in the countryside. Say I'm lucky to live close to the countryside, so I can walk in the paddy fields or in small wooded areas. It is really a stress buster and you really feel fresh. And I would advise everybody to do it. Even if you are living in high-rise apartment, please come down. There will be a garden or a park. Just please walk. Or there might be a park, maybe 2 or 3 kilometers. Take your vehicle, go there, walk. If you are living close to the countryside, nothing like that, just walk. And then by between 8:30 and 9, I sleep very early. I take some sleep supplements to help me. Glycine is both will help. It helps tremendously for sleep, and it is also anti-tumor. So also is a small dose of melatonin, but please don't exceed it then more than 1 to 1.5 milligrams.
So, what I found, one of the interesting things you said, like we spoke about the time I met you, was that you do a lot of sea bathing in the season. So, is it like a leisure activity or is there a health benefits to it?
Yeah. After the rains, that is October, there is a lot of jellyfish in the sea. I live very close to the coast. So for me, the sea is just 15-minute drive from home. So I can go there easily. And so from November, December, sometimes I just go and sit in the sea. I know swimming, so then enjoy the waves. There is a benefit. The thing is that you leave your slippers in your car. You walk on the sand, you are grounded. It's one of the best places to get grounded is sand. And again, in the water, you get all the minerals on your body. See, any water, even standing in the rain itself is also grounding. So anyway, sea water is, of course, fantastic grounding. Plus early morning sun. You are getting the long UV rays, long infrared rays, you see, on your body. So if I have to go to the sea, I go between 7 and 8.
So it's basically three benefits: so grounding, sunlight, and the minerals.
Yes. 3 benefits.
Yeah. So, one interesting thing that popped up in my mind is that you have 3 meals. So,
Yes.
I believe that is like you prefer the 3 meals approach rather than an intermittent fasting because of the condition you have.
Yes. I have a small stomach because part of it has been removed, Yes.
But for the general person, 2 meals are fine. Is your
Yeah, if somebody has quite a lot of body fat, that means if he is more than 25% body fat, 30% body fat, he should not eat too much, right? So the only way you are not going to eat too much is by cutting down on one meal, having 2, and absolutely not snacking in the middle. Drinking 5 to 6 cups of tea in your office is also equivalent to snacking. Because unless you it contains milk, unless you specifically stick to your black tea, then or green tea, then it is, I would say, would be healthy. But hardly anybody does it. I see people just normal tea. So that way. So I have to eat too. But I still try to control. I become hungry, you see. I become hungry quite frequently, much more than a normal person. But I control.
right.
Again, it's a mind game. controlling hunger is a mind game. Are we on? Are we on?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh,
we are on.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, definitely Goa has all the sun and sand. Maybe a vacation in Goa, if you focus on these things instead of people usually go there to have cheap alcohol and eat food. If they focus on these things, I'm sure they'll come back rejuvenated and healthy.
Yeah. Yes. But nobody comes here for that, right?
Yes.
Everybody comes for just to have a good time. And the definition of a good time is something different. Different from what you and me and a few like-minded people think.
Yeah, we have like guests on like audience here.
Yeah,
So I think we can open up.
I used to do all that. I used to go for music shows and parties and all that. But now I don't, and I see the difference. Sleeping by
Absolutely.
9 and just avoiding all that, it makes a tremendous difference.
So I think we can open up the audience. So if they have any questions, if any of you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Yeah.
Do we have any questions, pre-sent questions, Kunal?
They can ask the question to you and you can then repeat it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
captured one question on the form. It says that it's from Mr. Akhil Sharma. He's asking you, it feels like cancer cases are on the rise and our surrounding is not helping much.
Yes.
There is contamination in air, water, in vegetables, oil, spices, ghee.
Yes.
What should one do to avoid the risk of getting cancer? And are there tests that one can do to make sure there isn't any sign of any type of cancer in the body?
I'll answer the last part first. The test is cancer specific. That means if you find that, or if the doctor suspects that you have somewhere, he will ask for a specific test. You see, there is no like a fasting blood sugar or something which one can do and things like that. And doing a total body scan just in a healthy person just to rule out whether something is growing inside is not recommended. You see, that is not done. That is not medical ethics. So it is specific. Yeah. It will be, the doctor will recommend when he suspects something. You see, that is one thing. So, having said that, all males above the age of 40 should do a PSA test to rule out prostate cancer. But now things like mammography and even colonoscopy and all is now not recommended like as a prophylactic test. Things are changing. That is one. Second, although these chemicals and all these are also factors, but again the underlying cause is chronic inflammation. So as we have discussed here, all the ways how to avoid chronic inflammation. The thing is to avoid chronic inflammation, or at least to make a start to avoid chronic inflammation. That will at least prevent cancer from happening. Also, although there are certain occupations where the risk is higher, like X-ray technicians, people working with radioactive substances, people in the aromatic industry. Estrogen, please don't have a bath with perfumes and deo sprays and all that. As a medical professional, as a doctor, I'll tell people should avoid, spraying all those things. All aromatics, they all increase estrogen, especially. We made the mistake for so many years, but now we are realizing that those were mistakes, and it's not too late to correct. I think briefly I have been able to help Mr. Sharma. Chronic inflammation, avoid. Just take the steps to avoid inflammation, and people like Dev and Kunal will also help to reduce inflammation.
Thank you, doctor. I think we can open the forum for our listeners. So if anyone wants to ask any question, kindly unmute yourself. If you want, you can unmute your camera as well. Is anyone facing any issues unmuting? I'll give access to everyone.
Anyone with questions? Anyone want to join in? So I don't think we have any questions. I guess we can. Why? Okay. Okay. So thanks for joining in, everyone. So thanks for being on the podcast, Doctor. It's been a pleasure hosting you. It was a very informative session.
Yeah.
A lot of information was shared.
Yeah.
So anybody,
I think I have reached that age, and neither do I know how long I'll live. So I think I've reached that age where I can do something for society, and so at least whatever information that I have and whatever information I feel is right. So I may be wrong. I think I can pass it on to the younger generation, and hope they can learn a little bit from here.
So we have a question. Somebody is asking a question. Yeah. So question is, Dr. Vivek, what's your opinion on some patients' behavior towards this non-communicable disease?
Yeah, non-communicable is a very broad thing. Hypertension is non-communicable.
I think the person is referring to cancer itself, right? Like I think some patients don't really want to interact with people with cancer and all that. Think like even though they very well know it's a non-communicable disease.
Okay.
Is that the question? Kunal, what do you think?
I can only guess. My guess is as good as yours.
See, for us as medical professionals, non-communicable means something that cannot be transmitted from one human being to another. That is the definition of non-communicable. Now, well, is tumors and cancers non-communicable? Yes, it is. So this thing, and is there a stigma and this thing? Yeah, maybe there is a tremendous psychological impact. You see, and, you don't expect somebody to behave normally when they are diagnosed with this thing. Behavior will improve only when tumor or cancer goes into remission. And treatment benefits start showing. So obviously somebody I would say, would go back into his shell. See? There will be anxiety, there will be some amount of depression. But again, that could make the things worse. That is not the way to tackle it mentally. One has to be very positive and one has to fight.
So
if you don't fight, if you don't sleep and things like that, your cortisol levels will go up. If your anxiety levels go up, then your cortisol, and cortisol will only increase the growth of unwanted growth of the cells.
So we have another question. The question is by one Miss Satinder. The question is, can mustard oil be used or taken safely during cancer?
See, I have my limited knowledge of mustard oil, since I am not from North India, but there are two types of mustard oil, I think. One which is produced, you should be knowing better, Dave. One that is produced at home by using the ancient technique. I think that could be okay. But if it is adulterated or coming from the factory, then again, I wouldn't recommend it. You see, anything factory produced, I wouldn't recommend.
So another follow-up question by the same person is, during chemo we lose our hair. So
Yes.
by what time can we expect them back? Any tips for this?
No idea as such. We do lose our hair, that I know. How long will it take? I think it depends upon each person, age of the person, you see. But again, a good protein diet should help hair growth, because hair is nothing but keratin, and keratin is nothing but protein. So good protein diet, good amount of antioxidants, all that should promote. But exact time frame, I have no idea.
Another question we have is, what was your diet while you beat the cancer? I think we covered it already.
Yes, I still stuck to a high protein, reasonably low carb, moderate fat.
One question from Mr. Vinay. His question is coconut milk helpful for cancer patients?
No idea such, but generally coconut oil is good. So
Coconut milk should be fine too, as per my.
milk should be fine. It's basically carbs, right? Coconut milk is carbs and oil. So it should be fine. It should be, and it's a natural product. See, anything natural should be fine.
It's very difficult to say if this thing is specifically good for cancer patients or this is bad. That is very difficult to say, but generally, looking at the nutrition content of it, we think it should be fine.
Yes. Basically, we should have a lot of antioxidants, good amount of magnesium, good amount of vitamin C, decent amount of protein, some carbs. I think in a nutshell, this should be things that make the body alkaline, and absolutely no sugar and no seed oil.
So that's up with the audience question, but I would like to
have
ask
one.
one. Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead after you, Dave.
Yeah, so what I was asking is, from our experience dealing with cancer patients, one thing we noticed is that during their chemo phase, it's not easy for, they don't feel hungry,
Yes.
they don't feel like eating at all. So how do you manage nutrition? They don't feel like eating solid food for that matter. Then how do we eat protein?
Why don't you try whey protein, whey isolate?
Right.
Whey isolate in milk, or whey protein in Greek yogurt, so liquids basically.
Right.
So protein can be taken through a liquid form, right?
Right. So like soups.
Yes, soups. Yeah. So cream of chicken. Things like
Right.
soups and
Yeah, I wanted to
Soups and whey protein should be okay.
I wanted to ask you that someone who is going through the situation of cancer, what kind of support that person expects from the near and dear ones, and what support can uh, be provided to them by their family and friends?
Support has to be 100%. Let me be clear about it. 100% support. There is no question of, we cannot win. That is not. We will win. That should be the approach.
Right.
So positive talk, everything has to be positive. Positive talk, positive nutrition, positive treatment, motivation, making them move around, exercise. Just that should be the approach. The negative approach will completely it'll make matters worse.
Right. Okay. Any more questions?
In brief.
Anyone has?
I don't see any questions. So I think Kunal, I think you can wind it up.
Yeah, I think it was a wonderful session, Dr. Vivek Naik. Thank you so much for coming and talking to us. And I think there's one question that generally we get tired soon during chemo.
Yeah, that's because
So,
again, you see, chemo is like dropping a bomb. It is bombardment, you see, on the total body. It's not just destroying cancer cells. So obviously, body cells will temporarily become weak. So you will feel weak. You'll feel tired. And also appetite is not there. So you cannot provide, the adequate nutrition at that time. So you feel weak. But once the chemo is over, and even sometimes whatever little you eat is vomited. See, many people get vomiting. They throw up. So basically, once the chemo is over, one should go back to a diet. Also, I also suppose electrolytes also get messed up in chemo. One very common cause of tiredness, weakness, fatigue, and all is electrolyte imbalance, but we never bother about it. So, taking proper salt, chlorides, means sodium, chlorides, potassium, almost on a daily basis should be practiced by everybody.
thank you again, Doctor,
Yes.
for being with us. It was a honor and a pleasure to have you with us.
To everybody also, all those who took the time to join, all those who asked questions, and to you, Kunal, and to Dev for having me in this chat. Hope whatever I said is beneficial. Maybe one or two things I was not very sure, very specific questions on nutrition and all. So do pardon me for those things. Otherwise, yes, good. We had a good time.
Absolutely. And we look forward to seeing you again some other time
Yes.
for another chat.
Yeah, hopefully.
So, right, Dave?
Yeah, so again, wonderful session. So I think it's time to wind up. Next week we'll be back with another guest. So thanks again, Doctor.
Yes. People, just one brief thing.
Okay, sure.
People can just go to my X profile, and I have just one day back I have put up around 10 things about cancer. It will be the first thing that people will see. I think it is worth going through. You see, it will give much more information than what I have briefly discussed. That's all. Thank you very much, and good night, everyone.
Thank you. We'll share
Thank
it
you.
with everyone.
Yes.
Good night.